Okay, let's get started with mixed methods. And for this session, I want to define what I understand with mixed methods here. If talking about mixed methods, I think that we are talking about a research project in which we have qualitative and in which we have quantitative data, and we are integrating or combining them in a sense-making way. So this is the idea that I will treat mixed methods here, and MAXQDA supports you on all sides with qualitative, with quantitative analysis, and with mixed methods analysis. And therefore, I want to start and give an overview on how MAXQDA supports you with the analysis of qualitative data. And of course, here at the MAXDAYS, we have many spotlight sessions dealing with all these topics on how you can import data, how you can explore data, for example, by searching for words and word combinations, writing memos, writing comments, writing paraphrases, how you can analyze the data by coding, by memoing, writing summaries, and many more, and by reporting them in visual tools or exports. And on the other hand, we have the options for analyzing quantitative data with MAXQDA. So we have the option to create frequency tables or cross tables. We can calculate correlations. We can create charts in different ways, for example, bar charts, box plots, and histograms if we're using MAXQDA stats. Then we can calculate descriptive statistics. We can do inferential statistics like chi-square test or calculate correlations and so on. And since 3 weeks, we can also calculate and perform a cluster analysis in MAXQDA stats, which is very helpful to group documents based on qualitative coding information, for example. So when we're talking about MAXQDA's support of qualitative and quantitative data analysis and their combination, it might be helpful to think of different types of integration when doing mixed methods. And this is a diagram, which originally comes from Udo Kuckertz, and we distinguish here between qualitative data collection, analysis, and results on the one side, and we have the quantitative data collection, analysis, and the results on the other side. So we have both strands here, and now we distinguish different types of integration. First of all, we have the results-based integration, which can take place in any of the projects, because per definition, in a mixed methods projects, you have qualitative data and you have quantitative data, so you will have results for both, and you can compare them. You can enhance the qualitative data by adding results from the quantitative data and so on. In a sequential design, which is here indicated by this orange arrow, we can continue and build, for example, here the quantitative strand on the results from the qualitative strand, or the other way around. For example, first conducting a survey and then continuing with interviews or focus groups for deepening the results or for clarifying results that came up in the quantitative strand. So this is what we call sequence-based integration, and the integration takes place here from results to next data collection or planning of the next stage. And then we have data-based integration, and I always try to explain this like, take the qualitative data, take the quantitative data, put them together, for example, in MAXQDA, and analyze them together. Usually you will have, it is necessary that you have a link between the qualitative and quantitative data here. For example, for each case, you have qualitative and quantitative data, and you can link them and know what quantitative data belongs to the qualitative data and the other way around. Sometimes it's necessary if this works for groups, so you don't have it on an individual level. So with this in mind, we can enter the field of MAXQDA. And here I want to point out that joint displays play an important role, not only in MAXQDA, but in the whole world of mixed methods. And joint display means that qualitative and quantitative data or results are displayed together in a single diagram or a single chart. Often these are tables or matrices like this one here, and this is called a case comparison table in the mixed methods literature, and this could be created by the analysis summary table And maybe you've already seen a spotlight session on the summary functions in MAXQDA. So each case is a row. We have quantitative data here in the first column. For example, we know that Jane is not a member of an NGO who is in the NGO that is in the environment section, and she is 25 years old. And we have more quantitative data here in the last column, the scale, pro-environmental attitudes, for example. And this is sorted, the table, by increasing scale values. So we can see how the qualitative data that we've analyzed and condensed here in these summaries for the causes between talking and doing in these middle column here. So we are presenting qualitative data and together with quantitative data and use them both for our analysis. For example, for mixed methods typology building. Then we have another joint display. It's called Crosstab here, and I'm presenting these different joint displays to give you an idea that how important joint displays are for mixed methods data analysis and for mixed methods integration. So in the Crosstab, we see qualitative data here in the rows, and we see the quantitative data here in the columns. And they are used for grouping the documents together so we can compare different documents, different groups of documents, I have to say. Or here, this is a more free form and a more qualitative oriented way of doing mixed methods. Here we have a case map which contains mixed data. So we have qualitative data around it. We have placed here many of the informations on James K in terms of what is the biggest world problems he sees, how does he behave himself, how does he behave in terms of or with regard to the environment. And additionally, we have some quantitative information placed here. He's 25 years old, lives alone, and on the pro-climate scale, he reaches 18 out of 30 points, for example. And this was created with visual tools MaxMaps. So if we're talking about mixed methods in MAXQDA, you have to see that there are many features, not only placed here in the mixed methods tab, which is obvious, but also in the variables tab, for example. Also, there is a stats tab offering quantitative data analysis. But please note that there are lots of more places with additional mixed methods functionality. For example, the visual tools offer mixed methods tools. The context menu in code system offers transforming. And we will have now a look at those features in detail. So here I have a project which is a survey on a crisis, on a financial crisis a decade ago, and we have qualitative data and we have quantitative data in this survey. And the qualitative data are answers to open-ended questions. For example, here person 2 said to the question, how affected by crisis? Not really much. Well, our cheaper car parking tickets have gone now. They withdrew concessionary tickets, so now it's more difficult to get into town for the things I need. And then we have additional information. I have to say that these open-ended questions are already coded, thematically coded here. So we have jobs lost coded, family coded, pensions coded, insecure coded. And here, for example, the code travel and income down has been assigned to these answers here. Then we have standardized information for each person because we know that person 2 is retired, widowed, and belongs to the age group of the 70 to 79-year-olds, lives in a rural area, and on a job security, the person has a very high value here. So we know we have standardized information and qualitative information already coded here. And now we can combine those in simple ways. For example, if I click on any of these documents, you will see that the data editor selection is updated immediately or synchronously. So as soon as I select another document here, the corresponding line will be selected here. So I know that this person number 9 is retired and belongs to this age group, lives in an urgent area, and has a job security scale value of 0. But this is only one thing. If I close this window, I don't have this information anymore. But maybe it would be interesting to have it here in this list, and therefore we have the option here that we can click on the gear icon, and we can select something that we call favorite variables in MAXQDA, and these favorite variables are the standardized information, quantitative information that we can include in our qualitative studies at several points. So here we have selected already the employment status, marital status, age group, region, and job security scale as favorite variables. And if I click on OK and make sure that this option, display favorite variables in the tooltip, is selected, I can hover off any of these documents here in the document system, and you see that I don't have, that it's not necessary that the data editor for document variables is open, because here in the tooltip, in this info box, we can see this information at the bottom. So this person is retired, widowed, and belongs to the age group of 70 to 79-year-olds. This information is always at hand, and we can include this and think about this when analyzing their answers to open-ended questions or to interviews or whatever data we are dealing with. So please note that I took this project because I can demonstrate many different features here, but many of the features that I'm presenting are also available and make sense in much smaller projects, because here I have 156 documents. If you only have 20 or 30, that's fine and works well. Please have a look at this code here, jobs lost. It has been applied 40 times, and the question is, to which documents has it been applied, for example? And I can now, here we are here in the world of the qualitative data, yeah? And we can right-click on this code, and I can click on this feature in this option in the context menu. It's called transform into document variable. And this means that as soon as if I click it, the code remains here. Don't worry. But we end up with a new column in the data editor that you've seen before, and it's called jobs lost. So the name of the code is used as a new standardized variable information. And now this variable informs me how often a code, the code jobs lost, has been applied to each of the documents. So here I know this hasn't been applied, here too, but here it has been applied once. If I double click here in this table, the document will open and we can check this information. Yeah, it's true, because here the jobs lost code has been applied to the document. And here again, for document 8, it has also been applied. So now we have the information for each document, how often the code jobs lost has been applied. By the way, if the column here in any of the windows of MAXQDA is displayed in a black color, this means that MAXQDA manages this column and you cannot change it. If it is displayed in blue, you can change it, and you can change the values in this column. So anytime I change the number or if I add jobs lost coding to any of the documents, this column will be updated automatically. So what can we do now with this information here in this variable window? We can use it if we click on the Mixed Methods tab and select the first option, Activate Documents by Variables, to select documents. So we can use our qualitative information, transform it into some kind of quantitative information, yes or no, or yesterday in the research session, it was called the binary information here, yes or no. And we can create now conditions on how we can select to select our data. And you see that I will clear this list here to get a fresh menu here. And you see that all the variables in our project are listed here. The red ones are variables that are part of any MAXQDA project. These are the so-called system variables. And here we have blue ones. These are the variables that I have entered, and there is a green one indicating that this is a code transformed to a variable. And now, for example, we can take this code, jobs lost, by simply dragging it here in the conditions column. And we can say that jobs lost has to be larger or equal to 1, meaning that the code jobs lost has been applied once, at least once, to a document. And 40 documents fit this criteria, this condition. And in total, we end up with 40 because we only have one condition now. But we can add another condition. For example, we can add the region condition here, and we can say the region should be rural. And then we end up with 26 documents. And if we click now on Activate, we can select all the documents that fit this criteria. So these are all the documents that are from where the jobs lost has been coded, and the region is rural, as you can see here at the bottom of my tooltip. And on the right in the document browser, jobs lost is still being coded here for document number 4. So we end up with 26 documents here in the which are activated now, which means something like selected for analysis, or you can think of it as a filter for analysis. And this is something helpful, but as soon as if I click on any of those other documents that are not activated now, or if I do a click here, I lose my activation. So there is another option which somehow conserves this activation, and I can save it in a new set. And a new set means that now all the documents that fit this criteria, jobs lost and region, are here located under this set, and now I can activate and deactivate them anytime when I need this group here for further analysis. For example, I can go now to the Variables tab, and I can click on Document Variable Statistics, and we can check on employment status, marital status, age group, and job security scale. Region makes no sense because they are all they are all from a rural area. And now we can have a closer look at these 26 selected documents. For example, here we have 9 persons who are employed or still employed, although they lost jobs. So this might be interesting to further investigate. So why do we have applied a qualitative code to it while 9 are still employed, and what's going on there? So this might be interesting for further exploration. We can switch here this view, this document variable statistics, to a chart view by clicking on this chart icon here. And you can see that we have now here a vertical bar chart and include these percentages here. And we see that employed and self-employed both make 35% of these 26 persons we are looking at now. I can go to the next variable here, age group. For example, we see they all belong to the age group of the 40 to 49 years old. So we are now diving deeper and deeper into mixed methods. So for example, we can create an interactive quote matrix here by using the second icon on the Mixed Methods tab. Before we do so, I deactivate all documents and I activate the codes for selection and for analyzing those. So we can check what did the person say on jobs lost, family, pensions, and so on. And in interactive quote matrix, we have a very similar, in fact, the same input dialog here, the same dialog box as for activate documents by variables. But here, instead of conditions, we are defining columns by creating conditions. For example, here I've included all the age groups at once. And if I click now on OK, I will see this table. And this table is very informative because it combines now qualitative and quantitative data. It's some kind of a joint display. Here we have qualitative codes to select. And here we have the coded answers in each column. And each column is formed by one age group. So we can compare what did the age group of the 20 to 29 years old tell us on how they are affected by jobs lost. And what did the age group from the 30 to 39 years old tell us? So we have all these answers at hand, and if we click on any of those answers there, MAXQDA will show us them in the document browser here, so we can see them here and can further investigate what the persons also did say, in addition to these information we have here in this table. So please note that we have many options that we can use here for adjusting the display. I won't go into details, but one thing might be interesting here. We can click on to see who the persons are here. This is from number 123, from number 218, and so on. I want to keep this window open and we'll continue with the Crosstab. The Crosstab has the same structure, the same schematic display as the interactive quad matrix, and is created the same way. So I simply click OK here, and I get now this result table. This is the Crosstab. And now it shows me that jobs lost has been coded 6 times in the age group of the 20 to 29-year-olds and 12 times in the group of the 30 to 39-year-olds. And if you look here at the interactive quad matrix, you see the same numbers. They are displayed here, 6 and 12, and it's simply the number of coded segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that are displayed here in this column. But instead of presenting the qualitative information, here we are getting the qualitative information in a quantitative way. So here we know how many segments we have in jobs lost, and so on. So we can switch this to percentage view because we have a different number of persons in the different groups. For example, we have 17 in the first group, 34 in the second. And now you see that those are equal because if we calculate the percentages per age group, we see that there is no difference in the terms of jobs lost. As always, for qualitative data analysis, please be aware when doing quantitizing and when relying on countings. The main idea of doing qualitative research, from my perspective, is not to end up with a quantitative table. But when doing mixed methods and when using these tools, it helps us to identify interesting things that we can further investigate. For example, if we highlight here the background colors, or if we switch this option on, then the most frequent per column is displayed in darker green, so we can see patterns here, which is very helpful. And if we double click on it, we get the answers in a qualitative way, and we can investigate if our ideas that we get with this table, for example, that jobs lost is a very important topic for the youngers, but not for the olders. There we have a shift here to family and pensions, which makes sense, of course. And we can investigate this quantitative result here in the Crosstab in a more qualitative way than by investigating the concrete answers that we have coded there. Please note that we have many other additional features here, like typology table and so on. For example, here the statistics by qualitative groups. And here we have the groups, and here we have document variables. What does this mean? I will show it to you, and I will take the holiday comments here. For example, the persons have been asked how the holiday plans are affected by the crisis, and some said cannot afford, and others said live for the present. And it might be interesting to have a look at those. For example, I take this holiday comment here, the code, and now we build qualitative groups. Oh, I have to redo it here. Sorry, because I had some activated. And now we can compare the group of the persons where we coded cannot afford to the group of the persons where we coded live for the present. And we can choose document variables. For example, we can include all age groups and the job security scale. And now we can create a table which gives us the number within this age group for the persons where we have qualitatively coded the cannot afford, and qualitatively coded the live for the present. So we have created in a qualitative way 2 groups here, and now we can quantitatively compare characteristics of these groups. And it helps to turn on this highlighting here, because now per row, the greens indicate us which value is the most often value or the highest value, and the red one indicate which is the lowest value per row. For example, we can see that live for the present is more present in the age group of the 60 to 69. So again, here we have a shift in the age group regarding the topics that we have created, that we have applied here in a qualitative way. Please note that the typology table can also be created here by this icon, but we have different dialogues and different approaches to create those. There is also a similarity analysis, and I will show you this briefly. Similarity analysis means that I can compare documents regarding codes. So I can create a matrix, and at first I will select some codes to do so. So here we have how affected by crisis, and if you look at the numbers, you will see that these are the most common codes that have been applied here. And we can use these now for creating a similarity matrix, and we are using the Jacquard coefficient for looking for calculating the similarity between the different documents. And we end up with this big table here, and this table now tells us who is similar to person 2. We know for person 2 the travel and I think income down has been coded. So income down here is now the one that is counting here in this table. And we can sort this, for example, and we get all this information, and we know 20, 64, 127 are similar, are exactly the same coded as person 2. So we can identify similarities between documents. The similarity analysis for documents in this way is not so illustrative. So we can use this in a visual tool, because in document map, the same similarity matrix is used to create this map. And this map now takes the similarity matrix that I've shown you before. So it takes this similarity matrix and turns it into this visual display. You don't need to create a similarity analysis for documents to create this visual display. You can start with that. And please note that now MAXQDA tries to arrange all the documents in your project, or you've selected here on this area, and tries to place documents which are similar coded nearer together. So for example, we can identify that we have here a person with the number 15, where the code jobs lost and the code pensions has been coded, and it's some kind of a specific document, because nobody else has this combination of jobs lost and pensions. It's the only person. And if we look why the person is placed here, we can see that here, for example, the 19 documents are the ones where pension has been coded, and the 25 documents here are where jobs lost has been coded, and our respondent 15 is placed in between both of them. Yeah. So we can use this as an access to interesting persons, outsiders, and identify groups that share similar codes. This is the idea of using the document map, which uses, in fact, the multidimensional scaling in the background. So this is real mixed methods being applied here. So the last feature I want to draw your attention to is that if you're working with MAXQDA Analytics Pro, which is displayed here, it's a special product, and which allows me to access not only MAXDICTIO, but access the stats features, then I have the option to start it with all the documents. And here, all the data editor is displayed you remember it maybe from the beginning. So we know for person 2 that the person 2 is retired, widowed, and so on. We have some additional columns that I've hidden in the previous display, so it's more it's a better overview for you. And here we have several statistics at hand, and not only for the data, the document variables, the quantitative data, but also for the qualitative data. So we can create frequencies, we can create descriptive statistics here, and we can perform a cluster analysis here. For example, I can create this one here and create a table cluster analysis and perform it for dichotomous data. Hoping that I pronounce it correctly, dichotomous, yeah, I think that's it. And then we have here the codes from our project. And again, I can take jobs lost, family, pensions, insecure, and income down, and do the same as we did in the document map or in the similarity matrix. I can work here with, and I can say that we are interested in these codes are assigned to the document, so I have to set them to 1. And now, for now, we get this result, and we have also here a line chart. And please note that we have now the option that we can first select different similarity measures. For example, we can reproduce our results from the document map here somehow when we take Jakar. We can use unweighted average linkage where we see this makes no sense. We can use weighted average linkage, but we can use WART, which makes more sense here. And where we see that here at 5, we have some kind of an elbow here. We can use, for example, 5 clusters here. And this is a typology table you already know. And you see everything is interactive here. We can save these cluster solution now, the grouping that we are doing in a quantitative way here to analyze these clusters in a qualitative way now, and so on. For example, here we have the ones that cluster 1 where jobs lost has been applied and none of the other codes. Here in cluster 2, we have those where pensions has been mainly coded and one with jobs lost and one with insecure. And here, for example, we have the 28 persons where family has been coded. So yeah, these are the mathematical ways of doing this. Yeah, this is an overview of all the different ways of combining qualitative and quantitative data within MAXQDA, and there are many more, and I'm happy to answer now your questions. And what I will do is that I will create a new text document here within MAXQDA. I will call it your answers. No, sorry, your questions. My answers, I have to say. And I will start with the one here from the chat, and then I will switch. Yeah, I hope you can read it. I will enlarge it a little bit. For document maps, how can we know which variable is depicted on horizontal, vertical axis quadrants? Thanks. In fact, for horizontal and vertical axis, no variables are selected. But this is something for multidimensional scaling we have to think of what might be the ones. But in fact, we're only using in the document map here. And there are no horizontal and vertical axes. It's simple. The idea of showing the similarities on a 2-dimensional plane. And there's of course some information loss here because in the 3-dimensional visualization we would see more, and in the 4-dimensional maybe more, but we cannot display it here. So there is not really a horizontal and vertical axis here. Okay, it's more for it's more that we have to think of what are the results of it. Yeah. Okay, if you want to know more about this and what is going on there, sorry, I will go back to that. You can always click on this question mark or on the info icon, and then the MAXQDA manual will open. And in the manual, all the informations on mixed methods and all the information on the visual tools here, like the document map, are explained in detail. Okay, hope this. Oh yeah, there Tamara already pasted that in the chat. Thanks you so much. So I will scroll up a little bit and we'll copy the next question there. Okay, for a MAXQDA beginner, could you recommend resources on how to create and set up mixed methods data entry project setup to be able to all these analyses? Yes, I can do that. So please note that in my handout, and here I have also included it, we have a book. It's called Analyzing Qualitative Data with MAXQDA, and there is a chapter. It's on mixed methods. And if you look in this project, you will see how you can set up your project. And if you're dealing with a survey, there's also a spotlight session where Graham Hughes explained how to set up your project with the survey data. And there are several more articles and book sections linked in my handout, which you can access by clicking on the link that is pinned in the chat. So I hope this helps. Okay. I have to go to the next question and I will paste it here. Do you see the same principles use the same principles for mixed methods review? I'm not an expert in mixed methods review, so I think you can. But I think it's not the. I think it's not the main idea here, because you're not bringing together the same data, qualitative and quantitatively, for the same persons or for the same documents. In a mixed methods review, you would work with coding the different sections, and then you would compile them together. So you would need to use other ways of MAXQDA usage. And I would recommend that you have a look at the great spotlight session that Christina gave on literature reviews. There are already 2 recorded, and they are available on YouTube. And there is also a third one from yesterday. And there is an article reference dealing with different ways of reviews, which I think this will help. So there is the last question there in the chat, and then I will switch to the question and answers. For survey with open and closed questions, is it better to work with Excel or SPSS format? Thanks. In fact, I really would recommend to import it via SPSS format, because then MAXQDA automatically recognize if it is an ordinal variable or if it is a nominal variable. And I again recommend to read the manual here, because there is an explanation on how to import it. The procedure, if importing it from SPSS or Excel, is the same, and it has been explained by Graham Hughes in his great spotlight session yesterday. So have a look at the recordings in the replay area, and there it is explained how you can set up the data. Both will work, but for SPSS, MAXQDA will automatically recognize it and will add a number to it. So this might be some helpful, and it's also explained in the manual. Okay. So there are always coming more questions in the chat. I can't answer them fast enough here. Is there also a tool to determine whether a difference between groups is significant? Yeah, this can be done in stats. So if you have created, for example, a cluster analysis, or if you have conducted, if you have, for example, coded some data, you can go to the stats environment, and there we have the t-test, we have the analysis of variance, and so on. But in fact, I have to say that I'm not a big fan of calling something significant. And in most times, even in quantitative research, hypothesis testing has to be treated with some kind of caution, because most of the samplings are not really how we call it. Have not been collected by chance, are not random samples, but but there are many options here to do this. Yeah, but I'm just saying, be cautious with that. I'm a little bit hesitant with these types of things, but of course they will work. Okay, Here we go. Is it possible to view complete Excel files in MAXQDA? Here we go. Edit mode. This is the next question. Is it possible to view the complete Excel file in MAXQDA? Is it possible to encode segments from this view? Yeah. Again, please. I would show this because this is I prepared this here. Think this is the Excel file that was used for the import of the data I was working with and which I've used for demonstration. So each person has a row, and we have qualitative data in orange sections, and we have quantitative data in the blue sections. And if we now have import this as a survey data from an Excel spreadsheet, I import the survey crisis here. I will simply click on OK, then you can see what I'm doing here. It's not containing the whole database, but you see that I've created a new document group here. I will activate this now, and I have some, they have already been imported here. So this is not the best project to demonstrate, but I think it will work anyhow. Then I can select one of the questions that I've used. I think it will be this one now. Yeah, here we go. How affected by crisis? Only for activated documents. And here we have a list where all the information for import, it will take some time here. Now all the responses are listed here. So it's not the best idea to have the Excel table imported as a complete Excel table, but split it up in different documents. Each row will be a case. And then we can code this. For example, this is jobs law, this is income down. I simply drag it here to income down. Completely, really changed my customer base. And income down maybe, or something might work now just for explaining here. And we can also show the favorite variables here. So we always see this is the person who is retired, widowed, and so on. And there is a complete spotlight session on importing these data into MAXQDA. Yeah, could you show one more time the title of the books? Yeah, the books are linked all in the handout, so I think that's fine. So do you have the possibility to transfer analyzed data to? Yeah, okay, this is the next one. Here we go. Do you have the possibility to transfer the analyzed data to QTT worksheet for further analysis and insights? Yes, any of the presentations that I've given you, except of the interactive quad matrix, can be transferred to the QTT. For example, here the Crosstab that I've created. It looks a little bit empty now, but we can use it. I can send this to a QTT worksheet. I call it simply worksheet 1, or I call it mixed methods results, for example. Subject A, research question A. Ooh, many questions coming in. I'm doing my best to answer them all. So you see, yes, they can be transferred here to the QTT, and I can enter my insights on this Crosstab. So it is saved here, and I don't have to recreate it again and again, or I don't have to copy it to my research report. I can do it here in MAXQDA. So next one. Here we go. How can you connect multiple files that include information on the same subject? For example, if you have multiple surveys completed at different points in time and a file on their demographics. Yeah, the idea is that you have one document name and all of them share the same document name. And maybe Graham did mention that already yesterday, but when importing data from an Excel file, you will see that there is something in the bottom here where we can use them and add the if you have a panel data, you can add the data for each person at the bottom anytime, or for each import. So this is not an issue. This should be done very easily. The only thing you need to take into account is that you always use the same identifier name for the document, and this has to be at the same location here in the document system as your as your Excel file indicates. So you need to have one column which is called document group and one column which is called document name, so MAXQDA can match those documents. What do you prefer to export your, okay. What do you prefer to export your report to presentation, PhD student? Oh, this is a very general question. I recommend to watch and replay the reports spotlight sessions that have been given yesterday, I think, and maybe there's another one today on the different ways of how MAXQDA can export and report those things, because in mixed methods studies, we have to report the mixed methods, the mixed methods methodology, how we conducted our survey, how we conducted our interviews, how we brought them together. And presenting the research results in mixed methods is part of several, or is discussed in several articles. I'm sorry, I cannot cover this completely now. This is that. Then we have questions and answers. Okay, I will start at the bottom. So if you add more questions, they will show up at the top and I can answer them one by one. How would you suggest I connect the survey response of the person in the financial project to the material from an interview focus group, for example, whilst retaining their associated variables to be used in MAXDAYS? Thanks. Yeah, this is an old question. I understand that. Let me think of that for a moment. I think I have to think about that, and I don't have the best solution now to have their data in stats. But now what you could do is that you could export the variable information you have here from their financial project. You can export it and re-import it as variables and attach it to the data editor. So I think this will work. So I repeat my idea because maybe it wasn't clear from the start. You can start as I did, for example, or you can treating and working with the data from the survey, and then export the results. And then re-import them. The only drawback is that you cannot connect them with the qualitative data that has been coded in the survey. But I think you want to work in stats, so this will work. Okay. How have you created the quantitative variables, for instance, age group? Have you coded the different age groups, or have you imported these infos? Yeah, I have imported those, and I hope it got clear. This was the basis for the import. So we have one column here with age group, and during import, MAXQDA splits the data up. Those are treated as text, and those are imported, the blue ones are imported as variables, and then we have them together, and MAXQDA knows how to combine them. Okay, next one answered. Thanks, Tamara, for highlighting it as answered. How can I visualize two variables intersecting, for example, occupation and country in the code relation browser? Yeah, this is a question for the visual tools, but I will shortly demonstrate that because there is only one question then left, hopefully. So if I have to look here. For example, we can select some codes. For example, let's say jobs lost, family, pensions, insecure, and income down, I select. And here again, I select these activated codes because you have them in mind for now. And now we have different types of analysis, and you're looking for intersections. So both codes are applied to the same person there. And if we now look at this graphics here, we see that in the code relations browser, we can see that jobs lost and family have been 10 times assigned to the same document. I can say this here because for each document only each code has been applied once. If it hasn't been, if there hasn't been this coding rule, I would have to switch to document view or switch this option on count hits only once per document. And to show you that I'm right here with these 10, I can pull these segments here in the retrieved segments. And if I click here, you see that family and jobs lost has been applied here. Family and jobs has been applied here in the next segment, and so on. So these are the 10 documents, and this is a very interesting feature here. I can right click. Oh no, it's not working now. But I have an option in another way there where we can right click here and access and activate all those documents that maybe I have to do this. No, we can access those documents and they are then activated. Okay, I think last question, or maybe there is another one in the chat. Let's go back to the top here. And here we go. Could you please elaborate or more regarding limitation of using quantitative and qualitative methods together? I think this is a special question. The limitations I see, in fact, I don't see many limitations, so this is hard to answer. I always think in possibilities and not in limitations. So there might be a limitation if both qualitative and quantitative data address completely different questions and completely different phenomena. So then it might be not interesting to integrate them in the mixed methods project. But I think this is a question beyond MAXQDA. And because if you have data that is on the same, focuses on the same, the same phenomenon, then it makes sense to integrate them. So I have a last check at the chat, but I think I think I'm not sure if this is a question there, but I will keep it as we are here now, because we are at the end of this session, and actually we have stressed it a little bit. So let's come to the conclusions. MAXQDA supports you in qualitative and quantitative and in mixed methods analysis. It is particularly helpful when you're doing database integration, but could also be used for results-based and sequence-based integration. And think of joint displays to bring together qualitative data and/or results in a single visualization and presentation of results, which is also helpful for your PhDs. Yeah, thank you so much for your patience here and for your attendance, and have a nice day with this conference. Thank you so much.